Hello, I'm Barry with National Time and Signal. Today we're going to talk about our 902 fire alarm system. We're going to give you some training so you know how to operate it and how the panel functions. So we're going to open the door here. Now you can see by the display here we've got the center portion that has the display and the buttons for all the functions. We have a top compartment and a bottom compartment. I've taken the liberty of taking all the little wing nuts off, so we've got the bottom compartment which has the batteries in it. This is a display panel, so the batteries you would normally see in the field are much larger than this. They would take up the entire cabinet. They're normally 18 amp hour batteries, a pair of them. Okay, so we'll move those a little bit to the side. Now you see we've also got the main transformer for the panel in here and the bridge rectifier. Okay, the top portion, I'll take that part of the cabinet off, and you can see the two of the circuit boards. The circuit board on the right, that's the main power supply for the panel. That's also got the output circuits for the horn and strobe devices. You can see over here where the AC main power is coming in. And the circuit board on the left is what we call the Digicom board, or digital communication. Now that's got two circuits for addressable devices on it. Each circuit, or loop as we like to call it, can handle up to 126 devices on one loop. So the panel has a total capability of 252 addressable devices on it. As you can see, we've got only the devices for loop 1 connected at this point. And you'll also see that some other terminal screws on the left side of this circuit board. Those are the general alarm, trouble, and supervisory contacts that are normally used for monitoring. Okay? Now as we look at our display right here, we can see we've got a 40-character LCD display at the top. That displays all our information no matter what the condition of the panel is. As you can see right now, it's in a normal status. This is how it should always look when everything's normal. Okay? Now if you look, and you might want to zoom in a little bit. Okay, if you can see our indicators here, we're going to go through this top layer of buttons here. We've got our alarm silence button, panel tone silence, drill, and the menu exit key. Now we'll talk about these individually first. The alarm silence button would be used once the system has been in alarm and you want to quiet the horns or the audible portion of the alarm. And once that be pushed, then all the horns would silence. Normally, in normal operation, the strobes would continue going until the system is reset. The next button is the panel tone silence. No matter what the condition of the panel, whether it be an alarm condition, supervisory, or trouble, the panel is going to start beeping. And what we do to silence that, I'm just going to pull the battery lead off here, and in a few seconds we should get a trouble for that on the panel. Okay, we've got a trouble indicated here. Panel is saying low battery, and I'm going to hit the panel tone silence to stop the beeping. Okay, that would be true for any alarm, trouble, or supervisory condition. And I'm going to reconnect my battery lead here. And in a few seconds that should go back to normal on its own. There we go. Panel does not have to be reset once a trouble condition has been restored. Okay? Alarms and supervisories, however, you'd have to reset the system. Okay? So we've got, the next button we've got here is our drill button. That is exactly what it states. That's for fire drills. I'm going to push that. And what that does is that basically turns on all your audible visual circuits, okay? And basically it's an on-off switch, so if I hit it again, it's going to turn everything off, okay? So once again, you hit the drill once to turn everything on, and then you hit it again to turn everything off, okay? Now our next row of buttons we see we've got indicators for alarm, supervisory, trouble, and monitor. And you can ignore the monitor button here because you don't have anything programmed on your particular system. You do have alarm, supervisory, and troubles. Of course, alarm is going to indicate anytime you get an active alarm on the system, which I'm going to do by activating that pull station. Okay. You can see we've got our strobes going off, the panel's in alarm, and it's beeping. So I'm going to hit the panel tone silence. And we're going to look at my display, and it says pull station, first floor receiving. This just got a temporary program in it right now for testing. So as you can see, the pull station, once it's opened, and I close that back up, We're going to listen for a little chirp. Okay, you heard that little chirp? That tells us that something restored. And as you look at the display, you'll be able to see now we've got on the top left corner of the screen, we've got A0000. That's telling us we have no active alarms remaining. Okay? If there was anything but 0 there, then we would not want to reset, because that means there's still something active. I'm going to do one more by actually pulling the pull station handle, which is the same action as opening it, just releasing the button on the inside there. Okay, we got another alarm. Okay, this time, look at this, we've got A0001 on the top left corner telling us how many active alarms. And over here at the top right, you'll see we've got A0001/0003. This is telling us how many messages we've got in the queue right now and which message we're looking at. Okay, so right now we're still looking at the first alarm message when I first opened the pull station. If I hit the down arrow, now you'll see this has changed to 2 of 3. So right now we're looking at the second message, okay? And you can toggle back and forth using the up and down buttons to whatever you like. So we go back to that first message. If you look at the alarm indicator, we've got a positive sign in front of the alarm. That's telling us when an alarm actually comes in. And when it comes in, it'll show up as a positive. And if we go to back to the second message, we see that same message only with a minus sign. That's telling us that that condition has restored. Okay? Now we're going to go look at the third message. Okay? So now we're at 3 of 3, and we're looking at, again, a positive alarm because I've reactivated the pull station. Okay? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to reset that by opening it up with the key, flipping the handle back up, and locking it back in place. Now you heard that little chirp, that's telling us again that something restored. And now you see our display changed from 0003 to 0004. And over here at the top left, we've changed from A0001 back to A all zeros. Now if I go look at that fourth message, there again, we've got a minus indicator in front of the alarm telling us that the alarm has restored. And now that we know we've got all zeros next to the alarm indicator here, then we're safe to hit the system reset button. And there we have it. Same would go for, say, a supervisory alarm, which would be indicated with this button here, and then you would get a supervisory alarm, which would probably be most likely a sprinkler valve being closed, or possibly a duct smoke detector being an alarm. A duct smoke detector and alarm will indicate as a supervisory instead of a full alarm. That's just been accepted that way in the last year by the state. Normally it would have been setting off the whole system. Okay? I'm going to do one more trouble indication for you. I'm going to dislodge this smoke detector, and we're going to wait to see how that shows up. That should give us a trouble indication here in just a little bit. There we go. Again, I'm going to push the panel tone silence to stop the beeping. Okay? Our trouble indicator is lit down here. And if we look at our display, we've got a T instead of an A for alarm, we've got a T for trouble. T0001. So we've got one trouble in the system. Now the next part is the panel code, which will be indicative of what address the device is. Okay? Now the first part says P01, and if you've only got one panel, you know which panel it is because it's going to be P01. If you have multiple panels on the system, then this could be, say, P02 or P03 and so forth. Okay, and then what I want you to pay attention to is the last 5 digits of the message, because that's going to tell you what the address of the device is. Now remember up here we've got 2 different loops. Well, this panel knows which loop we're talking about, so right now we're seeing L1 on the display, which tells us that the device in trouble is on loop 1. And then the last 3 numbers, that 006, that's telling us the actual numerical address of that device, which is right here, and that's address 6. So it could be anything from 1 to 126. In this case, it's just number 6. And in this case, the trouble condition is displayed right here, and that's saying, with a plus sign in front of it, address error, or add error. And over here we've got T001/0001 indicating we're only looking at one of one messages. And then of course the description would be smoke detector, first floor, vestibule, and like I said, that is just a test program that's in there right now. Now again, when I put this back in place, which it's about a quarter of a turn once it slides in, and then you gotta make sure that that's in the base all the way. And we're just going to wait a few seconds and see if that clears on its own. There we go. Once again, once the trouble condition has been restored, the panel will clear itself and there's no need to hit reset or anything of that nature. Okay? Now we're going to move on over here. You can see the wires that are connected to this part of the circuit board. This is the power supply. This also has the outputs for the horn and strobe circuits. And those devices, which you can see right here, we've got a couple of strobes hooked up. And as you saw when we had the system in alarm, they were flashing. Now I'm just going to dislodge one of these from its base. And you can see how the base is wired. It's got a couple of positive wires up here, and then the two negative wires are connected. Alright, now we're getting the trouble. We're getting the positive output open, and it's saying NAC 1. Well, NAC is notification appliance circuit. Otherwise it would just be, circuit 1, output 1, whatever the case may be. There again, we've created an open in the circuit by removing the device. And once I slide that device back on and reconnect it, that should clear on its own. And there we go, anytime now. Thank you! Alright, so we've only got those two devices on the circuit right now. The spare circuit has an end-of-line resistor on it because it's not being used. Okay? And then you'll see where the AC power connects over here, but there's a couple terminals right here I'm going to show you. And this pair of screws right here is for the auxiliary 24-volt power. Okay? That 24-volt power can be used to power all our auxiliary devices. Like your building may have a main panel, and it also may have a remote panel, say near the front entrance, which would look just like this, only it would be in a smaller box. That 24 volts would be used to power that device. Okay. So we've covered our alarm silence button, we've covered our panel tone silence, our drill, and we know what our indicators are meaning over here, and we know what our system reset button is going to do. Anytime we hit that, it's going to reset the system. Okay? Now we're going to look at one of our nice features. The panel itself has a separate history buffer that records all the events. So we're going to show you how to get into that real quick. If I hit the menu exit key once, it's going to show you some options. Date and time, you can go in and change the date and time yourself if you like, that's no problem. Print history, anything that says print, unless you have a printer hooked up, is useless. Now we're going to go down here using the arrows, and if you can see the little cursor, I've got it under where it says view history. Okay? Now I've got the cursor under the view history, and I'm going to hit the enter button. And the first thing the screen is telling us the history queue size. In other words, how many events the history can hold. And this one is 3,854 events. Okay? And then the next number you'll see it's got 1,448 events. That's how many events are logged in the memory right now. Okay? And once that event buffer does fill up, then it basically rolls over and starts overprinting whatever's oldest. So you'll always have the most current information on there. Now this is saying last deleted 01, 01, 01, 0044, which is basically the last time it had a program put into it for testing. So, and then it tells you can hit the enter button. Now if I hit the enter button, it's going to show me the very first thing that's logged in its memory. And we can tell that by looking at the event number, which is on the top right, and that's 0001. Okay? And if we look at the date and the time of that event, it'll be on the left-hand side of the display. Okay? Now you can go forwards by hitting the right arrow, which would advance it to the second message. But if you need to look at what's most recent, then you can go to the left with the left arrow key. And you can see now the event number has gone all the way to 1448. And you can see by the date and the time, which is current, that we're looking at the most recent messages, okay? And this particular message is when the panel silence cleared. This is the reset, so it even records when the buttons are pressed. So it recorded when I hit that system reset button just a couple minutes ago. All right, and if we keep going to the left, we see we've got an output open with a minus sign. That was on NAC 1, that was when I put that device back on. So the minus sign tells us that that event cleared. And if we go back farther, we'll see when that event actually came into trouble, because we've got an output open with a plus sign. Okay? So like I said, if you keep going to the left, you're going to look at the most recent stuff, and you'll be able to tell that by the date and the time on the display. As you can see, by the time, I am going backwards in time right now. Okay, there's where our pulse station was in alarm a few minutes ago, and we can tell that with the plus sign in front of the alarm. And if I go back towards the present, we see that the panel silence was hit, and then there's the minus sign for the alarm being restored when we close the pulse station. Excuse me. This is very handy, say something happened at night or during the weekend and nobody was present to actually see what happened, and you come in Monday morning and they want you to look at that. You can go in history and see exactly what happened from one event to the next. Now to get out of this, all we're going to do is hit the menu/exit key once and then twice again, and we're back to our normal screen. Okay? Alright, that about does it. We've covered all the basic operations of the system. Our alarm silence, our panel silence, drill, system reset. We know what our indicators are for. We know how to read our display now. So you should be well aware of how to operate the system should there be an emergency or any type of event that happens on your system. Thank you.